Kathy Anderson.
Here.
Kathy, here. There you are.
You can let you out.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I like to think that when I travel to these counties and present updates, all things broadband, that I have timely information to give you. Well, as of last month, the California Public Utilities Commission did what I call took a very proactive action, and they have issued what is now being called the Validation of Broadband Availability Survey. It's a paper survey as well as an online survey, in that the state doesn't trust the data that has been submitted every 6 months for the last 3.5 years as far as what telephone service providers are claiming they offer, as in the type of service, the speed of the service, and to the areas where they claim to offer it. This particular survey will help the state gather individual street address specific geocodable data points that will be added to a new layer, which they're calling the public feedback layer. And then this information will be used in contrast, in comparison to the availability data that has been submitted to date. Why, you ask? Of course, I know inquiring minds want to know, because where broadband lacks is where it's needed, and in order for us to figure out where service does not exist, we're asking for information from the actual California residents themselves. If a person lives in a community where Comcast offers services, but that person cannot get the service for one reason or another, we would like them to go on the public record and explain why, or what they've been told by their service provider. Now, the other thing that I like to do is try to make it relevant. And Lassen County, no different than any other county, has its own culture, has its own collection of residents, its own population distribution and or density, depending on how you look at it. Hence, it has its own economic engine. And my concern is that I sometimes feel like I'm not making a difference, or that my time and effort doesn't seem to have an impact. So, with some candid conversation and or feedback for me, what I've discussed, what I've brought to you over the last several years, is it making a difference? Is there any kind of an impact? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
You've been working with the LEDC primarily. Have you been working with the group, the Economic Development Council as well?
LADC.
There was, we had another.
LEDC.
Lassen Economic Development
Yeah.
Council, yes. I personally have not. I work for the Center for Economic Development at Chico State, yes. The programs that I manage are both federal and state funded. So my organization is the fiscal agency for those grant projects, which I manage. And so much of my focus has been outward. I take full advantage of the skill sets that my staff offers as far as data research and analysis. But most of my time is spent traveling throughout the northern counties, talking to constituents, elected officials, supervisors, as well as anybody who's willing to listen. So when
Kathy, me being new on the board, and I spoke to you at the Bureau of Prisons, so your primary push is to do fiber optic, correct? Is that where you're?
The immediate answer is yes. The qualified answer is fiber is not the only solution.
No, I know. And
The bottom line is that if there is no infrastructure, there is no service to deploy.
I understand that also. Now, you're aware that Pluma Sierra just put in a $17 million fiber optic system.
Absolutely. We've been working hand in hand with them since they submitted their application.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so, what do you want to do with this system? You want to work, obviously, with Pluma Sierra. Do you want to reach these outlying communities such as Chester, Westwood? But they've missed a few. Is that what?
We were just looking at the map. I mean, I'm not sure what it is. It's obviously a map of the county, and these red lines, they follow the roads.
Right.
But we know that fiber comes out of Reno down 80 and up 395, thanks to Pluma Sierra and the RF-funded program.
Right.
And then what we would like to do is be able to extend fiber up 395 all the way to Alturas, and then
Okay.
up and around through Bieber, which builds in what we call redundancy, diversity, and reliability.
Right.
There's an application in
complete
front of
the
the
loop.
state now, yes, to
To
complete the loop.
Okay.
Such that at the end of the day, we actually have a fiber backbone from which we can supply, services can be deployed so that the
Right.
last mile providers have the bandwidth to be able to reach a wider variety of homes, knowing that the topography presents challenges.
Okay, forgive me because I'm not really sure. Are you trying to get fiber into the home? Is that what you're trying to do?
You know what, if we had all the money in the world, yes.
Okay, so.
But it's not realistic and it's
I
not
understand that
pragmatic.
very well. I'm on the board of directors of the Pluma Sierra also. So I
You're
know, I
well-versed.
have a little bit of knowledge about this. So with that being said, you would like to coordinate with Pluma Sierra and get fiber optic up to Alturas in that, is that what I'm getting? And you have the funds, the grants available to partner with Pluma Sierra to get up there, or
No.
to, okay.
My grants that I currently manage are administrative outreach planning, trying to pull all the pieces together and put together a
Put the
design
communities
concept.
together
The
to do-
planning,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
What we're hoping to do is be awarded infrastructure funds to
Right.
deploy fiber.
that's where I was going, okay.
Right.
So how does the county help you with that?
Well, good question. How many people in this room think that Lassen County is served? Meaning that everybody in the county has access to broadband at the speeds defined by the state, 6 down, 1.5 up minimum.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
No, we know.
Where's a
Can't
computer?
get it.
I know you. I've seen
I
you a
talked to you
couple of
before about
times.
it.
That's right.
We
with
all
the
know our
show-
speeds are lacking from what we're sold.
Okay,
Except
less
for,
than what
except
you're
for
sold.
Except for Zito and
Okay.
Pluma Sierra.
Is
Their speeds aren't what they're supposed to be.
Is it less than what you want?
Oh, no, the fiber optic speeds are very good,
Okay,
but
which,
the DSL speeds are very bad. We all know that.
right.
Yeah.
So with a show of hands in this room, how many of you will actually have access to internet services? Just access to internet.
Everybody.
Okay, how many of you are satisfied with the speed of your broadband service? 3,
Interruptions.
4, 5, interruptions. Okay, what are some of the problems you're having?
Slow.
Loss of connection, slow,
Slow speeds.
slow speeds.
Yeah.
Okay, we live in a world where we're expected to communicate electronically, and yet we are not able to deploy those services at the same speed that it is being demanded. And I mean speed by actually rolling out the services, not the actual speed of your service connection. So where I sit and stand is consciousness raising, that if people want it, they need to be able to demand it. And the numbers and the analysis that I've been performing is that Lassen County is showing 73% is underserved, which means 73% of the county has speeds less than what the state has established is the minimum. Does that mean that most of those folks live outside of Susanville? Probably, but we don't know exactly, but we know that Lassen County is not covered, it's not served. So, does the county want better broadband service?
Absolutely. Our hopes at Pluma Sierra, when we put this system in, that there would be some private enterprise following us up to provide the in-home services. Now, if you can assist with that, fantastic. Fantastic.
I brought a friend.
We
with
had
me.
anchor tenants, right?
Community anchor institutions, right.
Yes, but as far as going past that, we were hoping to provide the system so we could promote the economic stimulus for companies to come in to do what you're requiring,
Right,
what
broadband
you're asking.
capacity acts as a business
And
magnet.
if you can help
Sure.
us with that, that's a great thing.
I would like to introduce a friend, a peer, a project partner. Mitch Drake is the CEO of the Golden Bear Broadband Limited Liability Corporation, the very organization which we formed a year and a half ago, which submitted the infrastructure application to the California Internet Services Fund back in January, which application is still pending review. We have not yet received determination. Within that plan, we showed fiber coming out of Susanville, going up through Alturas and around Buda, which means that we have a plan that's been submitted. What I would like Mitch to do is if you would please address Supervisor Hammond's question directly.
Gladly. And great question. Our project is very similar to Pluma Sierra's project, but multiply our project times 16 counties.
Okay.
So what Bob and Lori were attempting to do at Plymouth Sierra was to get an infrastructure backbone that connected Susanville with Reno and a little spur down to Portola. And what that did when they got the funding for it, it now opened up the internet for not just their new business enterprises for the last mile, but for cellular telecommunications providers, more backbone. My old company, Frontier, had an old microwave over the mountaintops to Reno. So our project very similar to theirs. What we're trying to do is from Susanville's pretty well covered from fiber, because we got Plymouth Sierra now going to the east. Frontier goes to back over into the Bernie area, Fall River, and then down to past the lake, in Lake Alamo. But what's missing in Lassen County is the pieces that are going to the north. And our project is planning to connect Susanville with Alturas up into southern Oregon and back down to the Interstate 5 corridor. So we have these diverse rings. So along that way, very same business strategy as what Plymouth's had. We're opening it up to anybody that wants to serve last mile. In certain areas, we will serve last mile and fiber to the home. So the strategies are very, very similar. And we've worked a lot with Bob and Lori, and we'll continue to work with Bob and Lori if we're approved. There is some interest, early interest, that they may want to serve areas that are north of Susanville.
From Plymouth Sierra?
From Plymouth Sierra.
Okay, that hasn't been brought before.
Yeah, and they're just discussions. I certainly don't want to get them in trouble.
Well,
No,
They're ideas.
no, it's okay.
Part of this raising of expectations and raising hope is that I now feel like we're not going to be able to deliver on all that expectation because we've got everybody prepared for this possibility, and yet we're 10 months into it and haven't been given an answer yet. So I'm kind of grasping at straws because my territory covers 11 counties, of which Lassen is one. The design concept plans to interconnect 16 California counties. And back in October, we discovered with a meeting with Commissioner Catherine Sandoval herself that there are no internet exchange points in Northern California. The closest one is San Francisco, the next one is Medford, Oregon. And that says as much to the lack of traffic that has been traversing Northern California, but it also speaks to one of the most significant reasons for the limitations that we're having in Northern California. That we can't attract business because there isn't enough bandwidth available.
Absolutely.
We got bodies who want jobs, but we can't hire them because there's no business to do. So what can the county, what help can the county do for me? I guess, what can I do for you? What hasn't been done yet, you've explained to Mitch, you asked a great question. I've got another 16 months to go on these projects, so I'm not going away anytime soon. As in, there's still work to be done.
So you've got grant applications in process?
There's one
Go ahead and
before
take
the
it.
state, yes.
Yeah, correct.
It's a big one.
Before you answer Kathy's question, I think it's important that we level set a little bit. And obviously, unless you have an iPad or something with you today, I'd like you to go home and look up Nielsen's Law. You've ever heard of the Moore's Law processor? Doubles every 24 months, 186, 286, Pentium. Nielsen's Law is the very same thing, but with internet speeds. And so if you track Nielsen's Law with internet, and you look at the massive amount of copper here in Susanville, so most of it's aerial, copper has a limitation of about 6 megabits. You can twist a couple pairs together if they're available, and you might get 25 megabits. According to Nielsen's Law, by the year 2015, you should be getting about 50 megabits. The national broadband, 100 megabits. The national broadband plan is 100 megabits to every home by the year 2020. So that's the demand that's coming. And we all know what telemedicine and the Common Core testing, what we used to do with the #2 leaded pencil is now going to be online at the end of 2014. We're not ready for that in Northern California. We're just not. And the copper infrastructure that's here, we don't believe that the telephone companies are going to invest to dig up all that and put new fiber lines in. So companies like Plymouth Sierra, smart enough to get out in front of that curve in their areas. That happens to be an AT&T area. This is a Frontier area. Have you seen much investment from your local telephone company in the last few years? Are they
Yeah, they
digging up
oversold.
streets? Are they,
They oversold their capacity,
yeah.
it slowed their speeds down even more.
So the demand is coming, so what we're trying to do, obviously with the Golden Bear application, is you can't have that last mile adoption without an infrastructure. And infrastructure into Susanville, thank goodness for what Plymouth Sierra did, because they got the route connecting Susanville and Reno. But any type of business that now, transaction that's online, Google, Amazon, eBay, all the big companies are moving out of Silicon Valley and they're going to Oregon and Washington. So anytime you type in an order for Amazon, it's going down to Reno, down to Sacramento, subject to dig up, subject to all kinds of things. What we're trying to do is put that infrastructure in place that readies the network of the future, which we believe is fiber optics to each home. Wireless is good. They are complementary technologies. They are a good short-term solution while private enterprise or the government steps in to build fiber. But I think it's important to know from your county, you can start doing something now. And what that is, I don't know, Kathy, if you've presented them the information for the general plan, but if somebody comes in for a permit or a road gets dug up, let's put a couple 2-inch conduits, vacant conduits in the ground. Because that's the cost, that's the barrier of entry for carriers, is the cost of digging up streets. So, as an example, somebody buys some property and wants to get a driveway into a county road. What do you make them do today? There's probably a 30, 40-foot stretch. They got to have gravel, they got to have a culvert, right? Why not add 2-inch conduits? At some point in time, maybe not in our life, but all of that will be connected together. It could be a future revenue stream for the county too, by the way. So we're just trying to get you to think more of just, that we've got high-speed internet today, either Frontier or DSL or Digital Path or Plymouth Sierra. That's going to be short-lived. Your best hope in Susanville, I think, is going to be Plymouth Sierra. Because I don't know that Frontier will ever invest the capital. They've got other properties in the 25 states that they need to invest in. They may, I don't know, I don't work there anymore, but they may not invest in this area. So we need you to start thinking about the future. And we believe that that future is going to be a network of fiber optic cable and probably some wireless solutions.
Good. Any questions you forward to the public?
Could I,
Good.
would you mind like being the point?
No,
guy?
no, not at all.
You see you'll be the only one.
No.
Good thing you're here today.
Well, we've been looking at this for quite a while, obviously, and when we made the grant, we put in several grant applications, and we finally got accepted. So, I mean, we've been pretty progressive about trying to bring business to Lassen, Plymouth. And we're hoping, our hope is that we can get a bunch of in-home businesses started, people moving up from the Bay Area. Yeah, so, yeah, because that's the demand now, is the fiber optic broadband stuff,
Yeah. From an economic development standpoint, Lassen and Modoc County have some unique natural resources.
Oh, yeah.
Geothermal, you got power companies that come through town, gas companies. Those are perfect locations for data centers.
Absolutely.
And we need to stop Google and Amazon from moving out of the state. And the reason they're moving out of the state is because there's no broadband infrastructure. The fiber optic cable in San Jose and San Francisco, it's plugged. They're out of capacity. They're constantly building.
You wouldn't think San Francisco would let that happen.
I know, that's how fast demand is
It's very costly
growing.
to put that fiber optic in, it's very costly.
It is.
Aaron, you got a question?
Yeah, I had two questions. The first one is for Tom, he seemed to be the first one. How far up 395 does Plymouth Sierra go?
What do you mean, which way?
North toward out there.
They stop at
No, we
Susanville.
stop here.
Oh, you stop at Susan?
Yeah.
So it's Frontier from here on.
Well, there is no,
Frontier.
They'll probably have microwave. They'll probably
Frontier-
Dish it.
Yeah, Frontier, I left there in 2005 after 22 years, and we had a microwave radio hop that
Yeah.
fed Grasshopper and then all the way up into Modoc County. That looks like that's been torn down now. There's only the microwave that's looking towards Black Mountain over into probably feeding Furlong and Doyle still. But I know Frontier wants to get on the Plymouth route. So there's fiber from here out to maybe Litchfield, and then from there it's copper copper cable. Our project proposes to hook up with Plymouth Sierra right downtown here in Susanville and connecting downtown Alturas up to Newell by Tule Lake, and then down over into Wairika into the Interstate 5 corridor.
Believe it or not, the ag community could really utilize this also, so.
Agreed,
Oh,
agreed,
oh,
and
huge,
we've been talking to
huge.
them. But I'm sort of at the point, my sense is that all this, time spent trying to do the consciousness raising, getting out in front of the demands so that we're actually leading instead of pushing. And now it's a matter of us leveling it beyond the state.
My suggestion is you team up with Bob and Lori immediately, if not sooner, because they did a really good job about broadcasting what we were gonna do. I mean, we had community meetings and we educated people
Yep.
quickly.
You had a second question?
Yes, you're going through this grant through all this work, what's the possibility of using that grant money to put in, you said there was one link in San Francisco, then you gotta go clear up to Medford, what's wrong with putting one up in Susanville or out there, and that other connecting link?
Well,
Or
our grant
whatever you
application
called it.
didn't necessarily specify being a host for an internet exchange point, but it's a possibility now, especially since the commission realizes that there is no existing internet exchange point.
A lot of our infrastructure in our project, there's 2,400 miles of fiber optic cable, 1,400 of it's already in the ground, and we'll be able to use that from an existing long-haul nationwide carrier, level 3. And then there are pockets like Plymouth Sierra that we will partner with, do fiber swaps or buy circuits from one another to complete our networks. There's 1,000 miles of construction on our project, and it's, for the most part, it's either in the Central Valley or on the Route 1 corridor, or up in Humboldt, Trinity, and Siskiyou County.
And then my last question is I'm not very technological savvy, so help me out. But I did have DSL at one time, which is over the phone line, which was incredibly slow. But now up there we have you have to be in direct line sight. How is that in relation to anything? I don't know.
What you're probably talking about is fixed wireless, which means that there's a transmitter and there's a receiver, and if there's anything that would interrupt the signal between the origination and destination, the signal drops. Well, fixed wireless is actually fed from some type of land-based terrestrial backhaul, the actual, the juice, if you will. Where do you live here in Lassen County?
I live up there by Beaver.
And and who is your service provider currently? Who are you paying on a monthly basis?
Was it T-Net or HDO?
HughesNet?
T-Net.
TNet.
Or High Desert Online.
High Desert
High
Online,
Desert.
okay, all right. Theirs is a fixed wireless, right? It's a fixed wireless technology. So your question is, what is it that we're trying to do that would make your service more reliable?
Right, and have you worked with them to replace it with fiber optics? I mean, is
The
fiber optics better than I don't know.
The idea is, yes, that we build in this fiber leveraged route to build in redundancy, diversity, and reliability. And it provides an opportunity for us to offer access to greater service so that these last mile service providers who are selling you the service have access to more juice. So instead of them giving you a quarter of a cup of water on a month, they now have the opportunity to give you a cup, 2 cups, or 3 cups, because we're supplying them with greater access.
At a lower cost.
At a lower cost.
At a point where they want it. As an example, Ravendale, everybody knows where Ravendale is, kind of in the middle of nowhere between here and Alturas. If High Desert Online or any wireless internet service provider wanted to serve those customers, there's no cable going down 395, so they'd have to spend capital to either come down to Susanville to pick up the internet backbone or go to Modoc County, and hopefully Frontier would have capacity and it would be affordable for them. Our route will go right by there, so we're opening it up for them, and if they don't want to serve it, we would serve it. And so our application allows local internet service providers not to go out of business. We said when we started this was not about putting people that put their hard-earned capital into their businesses and put them out of business. On the contrary, we wanted to allow them to extend and expand their footprint with a lower cost internet backhaul, at much higher speeds to boot.
Enabling the opportunity. Yeah.
Okay, any more questions? Well, thank you guys for your presentation.
Thank you.
I guess Tom
Sure,
will be your
sure.
contact man.
And didn't get much reaction from these surveys. I brought a stack. May I leave them with you in case
You bet.
somebody
Sure.
feels like filling them out?
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will, and again, thank you guys for, both of you for coming up here. We'll go through H4, get a word on tires.
Good morning, Larry Millar, Works Director. Yeah, what we have here today is a bid award for this year. The low bidder was Les Schwab Tires. Annually, we go out to bid for tires for our road division. And basically, the bid document is, they give us a set price for every tire that the road department may need to purchase during the year.
Would you rather see them go tire and they?
The two bidders we got this year were, and usually is Les Schwab Tires and Lassen Tire. We send out to, what is it, 3 or 4, but normally we just get the 2 bids every year.
They're the only ones that reply?
Yes. And throughout the history, it changes from one to the other every, it varies back and forth.
Normally you have the amounts on here, what?
Well, it's, like I said, the bid itself is a list of, probably 50 tires, and they basically put down the brand name and then the price for that tire. So
What
how
were the bid
we,
amounts?
correctly, the bid.
What were the bid amounts?
For instance, like here's a P215-70 R15. This is Les Schwab's, was $114.49.
I mean, you just took the lower of the two total.
Basically how we compare them is, we look at it several different ways. We went through and basically added, if we bought every tire throughout the year, we added those up. Les Schwab was cheaper on that account. We also look at the, I guess the tires we normally have to repair a lot, more common tires. We add those up, like we bought one of each one of those. In this case, Les Schwab was low on that as well.
What's the total though? I mean, it doesn't have
There,
a dollar amount.
we don't have, I mean, it's basically as we need
Oh,
it.
as needed.
I normally put like 35,000 in my budget,
I see.
but yeah, it varies on what we need to purchase during the year.
So you compare a tire to tire from what the people bid.
Exactly, that's how we kind of do our comparison.
What was, like $114, what was the new tire?
Lassen Tire for that same one was, yeah, they had a disposal price, so theirs was like 118. And it varies, you go through individually, one might be a little lower, but overall, Lassen, Les Schwab is the low bid this year.
Okay. Any more questions about it?
Vote for approval.
Motion to approve, second.
Second.
Okay, I second. I missed, is somebody back there? Iona?
Yeah, can I ask him a question?
You bet.
Larry, do you include studded tires in
Yes.
any of these purchases?
Yes.
Do you include, when you do this, alignments?
Yeah, that was one.
Not under this bid,
Oh, okay.
that would be a different vendor if we needed to do alignments. This is basically just the bid
That's
for
why
the
they
tires.
do alignments.
They're one of them, yeah, but I mean, we have different vendors. for-
Oh, I see.
It could be Les Schwab or it could be a different vendor. This is just for the purchase of the tire or
Thank
tube
you.
or whatever.
Okay, any more questions for Larry? We have a motion in a second. You have a motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
second.
And Tom second, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I think I've covered all the items. No, we got CAO report, information board supervisor.
Just one item, Mr. Chairman, the issue of purchasing policy has been raised a couple times today. Purchasing policy is available on the county website. It has, the last time it was updated was almost 10 years ago, January 2004, so it may be worth revisiting those dollar thresholds at some point for whatever it's worth.
Where is it have on the website?
It's on the county website
If you go to the homepage,
yes,
go to the, right, there's a link that states purchasing call for bids. When you click on that, it brings up another link, and on the left side of that page is a purchasing policy link.
Purchasing call for bid?
Purchasing slash.
Slash.
Other than that, Mr. Nichols will be gone the rest of the week. I'll be between CAO's office and the treasurer's office. I think y'all have my cell phone if you need to reach me.
Good.
Probably the best way.
Thank you, Richie. I think that concludes it, and we will go back to continue closed session.